Hi, I'm Tom, the founder of BTech. Welcome back to another Rooftop Review / comparison, 5 Mark II versus the 1 Mark II. This is the big question of the moment, isn't it? And in this video, I want to concentrate on what these two phones are like as daily drivers and give you my advice, which one to go for and why. At the very end of this video, I'm going to give you at least 2 different endings. It sounds confusing, but let's get into it right now. I'm just going to finish my, oh yes, there is this. I'm glad you mentioned it. You can have a coffee out of one of our very own designed sort of in-house mugs. And why not? Because they look formidable, don't they? I think you'll agree. Oh, and then you notice this as well. Excellent, we are selling t-shirts. And if you buy one, it helps keep the channel alive. And you will have us cheering you on your way as you wear these t-shirts. Anyway, let's get into the review. That's why you're here. There are a lot of differences between these two phones, but there are also a lot of similarities. But in this video, I just want to concentrate mainly on the differences. Let's kick things off with the design and overall build quality. Now, I said this before with my Xperia 1 Mark II. I did about 650 videos we did on that, something like that. I said in those videos that what Sony's done really well with that phone is they've given us a big phone experience, but in a pretty compact package really, and that's because of the slender 21:9 aspect ratio. It really works well and it makes the device much more pocketable than a 6.5-inch display phone should be. And it's the same kind of situation here with the 5 Mark II. Obviously it's a more compact version of the 1 Mark II, but because it's scaled down like this to 6.1 inches, it's a lot more compact than you would think. It's more compact in the hand, and it's a more pocketable daily driver, much more so than the 6.1-inch display would suggest. It's really raining pretty hard at the moment, but this is the thing, we never let the weather get in the way here at BTech. Hit like if you approve, and do subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because we have another 650 videos coming up for you. Right, next. Now, in terms of build quality, these are Xperia devices we're talking about, so they're very, very well built for the long term. They do feel a little bit on the kind of, dare I say, delicate side. They're probably not as delicate as they feel, but they're very light. I personally love that. And people, tech YouTubers, who tell you that for a phone to be light is a problem, it needs to be premium and heavy, ignore them, that's rubbish. They both feel light, but my goodness, they are slippery as you like and as you don't like. So my advice would be, more than any other phone, get these two. If you're going to get one of them, put it in a case, for sure. Put it in a case. The 5 Mark II has slipped out of our pockets probably more than any phone we've ever had in the studio. So the 5 Mark II does feel a little bit more sort of cuddly, slightly more rounded in the edges there. I like that, but then I don't have a problem with the 1 Mark II, so I mean either way you go, they're absolutely fine. What's the big difference here hardware-wise? Well, it's the Google Assistant button. You don't have that on the 1 Mark II, you do have that on the 5 Mark II. If you've seen any of my 5 Mark II videos, you know I'm not a big fan, because unlike, what's his name here, Roman, I made a note of your name, Roman Becker. He said something like, Tom, what the hell are you talking about? I've had it for almost a day and I didn't hit it yet. No, I'm sure you didn't, Roman. The thing is, when we do a review, we live with the phone, normally for about 2 weeks, and that's a different story. Now, if you manage to live with it for 2 weeks and not hit the Google Assistant button, I take my hat off to you. We have, and it's a tricky one. I don't like it. I've got to be honest about that. Everyone has a different experience, and your mileage may vary. What else have they both got? Headphone jack, they both look cool, 21:9. Wireless charging, we do have it on the Xperia 1 Mark II, we don't have it on the 5 Mark II. We're going to cover that in a little bit more detail when we talk about the battery. I think when it comes to making a choice here, the first big decision you're going to make is, do you really, really, really need the smaller size, or are you okay with the larger size? Because both of these phones feel a lot smaller than their display size would suggest. Display-wise, they are both excellent. The 1 Mark II has a 4K display. Not a lot of 4K content out there, but it's nice to know it's there when it is, and it's a bigger screen. The smaller 5 Mark II doesn't, it's HD+, doesn't matter to me at all. What's more interesting here is the refresh rate. 120 Hz makes the phone feel a little bit quicker, a little bit more luxurious. On balance, I prefer that, I've got to say. But generally speaking, I like the bigger screen. So it's, out of all the decisions here, that's probably the toughest one, the display, which one is best. There is no winner there, they're just different. But if I had to choose just on the display, I think I'd choose the bigger, the One Mark II. One thing I will say though is, people talk about when they, tech reviewers, when they're reviewing the Xperia 1 Mark II, they talk about 60 Hz refresh rate being rubbish for a phone that costs that much. And yet look at the 12 Pro Max, which is also 60 Hz, and also, for what it's worth, 458 ppi on that phone, whereas it's 450 ppi on the 5 Mark II. So I think, given it's a smaller screen, we're not going to have any issues there, are we? I just want to keep things fair and just throw in a bit of iPhone perspective out there. I hope that helps. So all I'd say before we move on to the camera tech is I wish the displays were both brighter. They're bright enough, but only just. More would just help, it would be nice. Come on Sony, you can do it. Right, camera-wise, both of these are almost identical. There's a time of flight sensor missing on the 5 Mark II. It didn't make that much difference, we felt. Both of these are great camera setups on the back. On the front, the selfie cameras are both nightmares. I mean, they're not very good. Doesn't worry me too much, but if you're a selfie person, you'll hate that. But on the back, they really are good, as long as you want and will enjoy getting into pro modes, whether it's for video or taking pictures. They are fantastic amounts of fun if you're into that. I'm not a pro, but I have enjoyed using the pro modes here immensely. Automatic mode, in my opinion, could be better, and I would like to see Sony experiment more on the computational side of photography for the automatic mode, but then give us the the full kind of like mirrorless experience over in the pro mode, so you get the best of both worlds. That's what I'd like to see happen. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but I'm just putting it out there. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. So when it comes to the battery situation here, both of these are best in class when it comes to preserving the battery for the long term. I like the way Sony does that, because it means we don't have to, if we're keeping the phone for a few years, worry about changing the battery. That's a nice touch, and I appreciate that. Having said that, as I said before, if you're really into wireless charging, you've already got the kit at home and at work, like a lot of us do, you're going to find the 5 Mark II a bit of a struggle because it's only plug-in. But I mean, that doesn't worry me. I'm just saying that because I know it worries a lot of people out there. They're not the fastest chargers in the world, but because both phones get you through a day so easily, I'm just not even remotely worried about that. Okay, what else are we dealing with here? The software experience on both of these is identical. I can't think of any differences at all, and it's a very good software experience because it's pretty much a stock Android experience, just a little sprinkling of Sony Xperia magic, but only a little bit. The thing I don't like is bloatware. It's on both, I don't know, booking.com, Amazon stuff. It winds me up, even though there's more than enough space here and you've got SD card expandable stuff. It still annoys me. You can probably tell. I just don't want to see it there at all. And if it is there, I want to be able to delete it permanently. I just wanted to flag that, but they're both the same in that sense. Side sense, I absolutely love, and it makes the 1 Mark II feel smaller than it is, just like the 21:9 aspect ratio does, and it makes the 5 Mark II feel even smaller than it is. Absolutely wonderful stuff, side sense, and as long as you take the time to dial it in 100% the way you want it, it will work every single time. People that say it doesn't work every single time, I wouldn't believe them. It works for me. I just want to say the quickest of quick words on performance. Basically, they're almost identical. What I will say though is, if you're worried about overheating with the smaller form factor there and the equal power, if you like, of the 5 Mark II, don't worry about that too much. Graphene is at play here. They've really gone to lengths here to make sure that you're okay. Even if you're deep into a heavy gaming session, you're going to be a-okay, I think. I saw a really interesting article about that on Xperia blog. I'll link it in the video description below. Now let's wrap this up with the price information and the conclusion. The 5 Mark II is considerably less than the 1 Mark II, and that made it a difficult decision. On that basis, I would say pick the screen size you think you're going to feel most comfortable with, and don't worry too much about the 1 Mark II being larger. Then make sure that wireless charging, whether it's got it or not, isn't a deal breaker one way or the other. Then forget all of that because what we're seeing now is that the 1 Mark II is actually, if you shop around and you find the right retailers, is actually cheaper, not even the same price, actually cheaper than the 5 Mark II. And that kind of changes everything, because then you are getting the wireless charging, the bigger screen, the 4K, you're not having the Google Assistant button, and in some ways one could argue you're getting the true flagship, like the top dog. Having said that, I've always tended to lean over the years towards Sony's compact versions. So me, I've gone around this like 100 times trying to work out which one I would go for, is like if it was my money, which one would I choose? Some days I'd say the 1 Mark II, other days the 5 Mark II. On balance, I keep changing my mind. This time around, I'm going to say the 1 Mark II, as long as I can pick it up cheaper than the 5 Mark II. But if I could pick up the 5 Mark II for the same amount, or if there was a deal there with the free headphones, that would sway me. I mean, God, then there's the headphone things, right? I don't want to call this a draw, because then we might as well all go and work for Tech Radar and just give everything 4 out of 5. I'm not going to call this a draw. Come on, we've got to make a decision here. I'm going to say the 1 Mark II, unless the 5 Mark II was a really good deal and it had the free headphones. I hope that helps. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to be comparing these two phones with the new iPhones that are coming out. So make sure you stay tuned, hit the notification bell, all the rest of it, and we'll see you back here in the middle of the jungle, urban jungle, near the equator, in the middle of the rainy season. Thank you so much for watching.